Survei Nasional Audit Internal dengan mengangkat 3 topik krusial. Topik pertama mengangkat tema kesiapan implementasi GIAS untuk melihat sejauh mana auditor internal Indonesia siap mengadopsi standar audit internal global terbaru. Topik kedua mengenai keamanan cyber atau cyber security untuk melihat bagaimana peran audit internal dalam membantu organisasi menghadapi risiko keamanan cyber. Topik ketiga mengenai penggunaan artificial intelligence untuk melihat kesiapan auditor internal dalam menanggapi penggunaan dan pengawasan teknologi artificial intelligence dalam organisasi. Sejak 2017, IIA Indonesia telah aktif menyelenggarakan riset dan survei berkesinambungan untuk membaca arah profesi audit internal di tengah perubahan dari waktu ke waktu. Hal ini mencerminkan komitmen IIA Indonesia untuk terus memberikan kontribusi nyata bagi penguatan peran audit internal di Indonesia. Mari, luangkan waktu sejenak untuk mengisi survei nasional IIA Indonesia dan berkontribusi untuk perkembangan profesi audit internal melalui menu survei yang ada di aplikasi National Conference IIA. Bagi yang mengisi lengkap untuk ketiga bagian survei dalam konferensi 2 hari ini akan memperoleh souvenir menarik dari IIA Indonesia. Hasil Survei Nasional Audit Internal 2025 ini nantinya akan dirilis pada tahun 2026. Anda dapat mendownload hasilnya di website IIA Indonesia. Terima kasih atas partisipasi Anda, dan segera join IIA Indonesia untuk bergabung bersama komunitas audit internal dan dapatkan berbagai benefitnya.
Baik Bapak Ibu, selamat datang kembali dan selamat siang bagi Bapak Ibu peserta IIA Indonesia National Conference 2024, maksud kami 2025, Audit for Tomorrow, Strategic, Future Ready, Sustainable. Baik Bapak Ibu hadirin, setelah tadi kita sudah menyimak paparan dan juga diskusi panel yang begitu inspiratif, di sesi berikut ini juga tidak kalah menarik ya, di mana kita akan mendengarkan pemaparan yang juga pastinya inspiratif dengan judul topik Integrating ESG into Internal Audit Insight and Practical Steps dari salah satu partner IIA Indonesia pada konferensi nasional kali ini. Dan langsung saja kami akan mengundang perwakilan dari Deloitte yang hari ini kita akan mengundang 3 perwakilan. Berikut adalah Bapak Brian Indradjadja selaku Indonesia Leader, President Director of PT Deloitte, Konsultan Indonesia. Juga kami mengundang Ibu Cahaya Cita Putri, Senior Manager Deloitte Southeast Asia, Control Assurance, dan juga Ganesan Kolan Velu, Partner and Head of Sustainability Deloitte South Asia. Untuk Bapak Ibu kami persilakan untuk dapat naik ke atas panggung.
Selamat siang semuanya. Ya ini kayaknya kurang semangat ya. Selamat siang semuanya. Ya oke. Jadi Terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu yang saya hormati untuk kesempatan ini dari IIA juga, Komite IIA, Leadership IIA. Saya sedikit pesan sponsor dikit ya, sebagai Platinum sponsor. Saya senang banget, ini udah tahun keempat ya Cak ya, tahun keempat atau tahun kelima kita sudah menjadi Platinum sponsor untuk IIA. It goes to show, Ganesan, it goes to show that this internal audit profession is something that we value very much at Deloitte. And this is as the world's biggest professional services firm, we really respect and honor the profession of internal audit. So a big round of applause for everyone here as internal auditors. Thank you. Yang saya hormati dari IIA, ada Governor from IIA, Ibu Angela juga sebagai pemimpin IIA, all the distinguished guests, Bapak dan Ibu, Chief Audit Executive dan teman-teman sebagai internal audit profesional, kami dari Deloitte izin hari ini untuk menyampaikan few sharing session on ESG. Ya, saya memperkenalkan tim kami di sini, ada Ibu Cahaya Cita di sini sebagai Senior Manager, who's focusing on the implementation and localization of S1 and S2 reporting IFRS, especially for ESG. And saya di sini juga mengundang, and I have the honor of having Pak Ganesan, Pak. Thank you, Pak, as our Deloitte Southeast Asia lead for ESG and also our partner in the region. Yeah, and myself, I'm just helping supporting these two as the country managing partner and CEO of Deloitte Indonesia. So I am very happy and honored to be here, and it is my privilege to open this session alongside with both of you as well. So maybe we'll start, yeah, maybe with Pak Ganesan, Pak, yeah. So from your view, Pak, what do you think is currently, you know, from a global perspective and from a local perspective, Pak, what do you think is the current trend of ESG, and how do you see, particularly as an internal audit professional here, particularly with IIA, and we are very privileged and lucky to be surrounded by the top internal audit professionals in Indonesia. How do you think, from a global and local standards, how do we apply that into our profession? Over to you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. Ibu-ibu dan bapak-bapak. My name is Ganesan, and I'm with Deloitte Southeast Asia, helping many companies, organizations in the region, including in Indonesia, helping them to improve their capability and capacity when it comes to ESG. Today's topic on internal audit and sustainability, I think is very, very relevant topics to all of us, right? And we are talking about audit for tomorrow, right? So what's going to happen tomorrow? Definitely sustainability, right? ESG, the buzzwords that we are using it now. Now the question is, are we ready as an internal auditors, right? Where we are, right? And how important is ESG, sustainability, to our company, to our business, right? And especially to you as an internal auditors, are we ready to take the next steps, right? And to show the value, right? What actually we can do to our organization, and how much we are able to contribute moving forward, right? And hopefully some of the information that I'm able to share with you today will be helpful to you in taking this to your company, to your management, especially to encourage them, to convince them the importance of ESG in your company, and how you as an internal auditor can be involved in improving overall the organization performance, right? I have some slides here I can share with you. You have the next slide? Right, so why ESG is important, right? Even here in Indonesia, right? There are from two perspectives. One is from the business perspective, and the other one from the investor's perspective, right? From the business perspective, it's very clear, right? When we start to do ESG, mainly we are looking at how we can improve our business performance. Very much looking at what is happening now, what may happen in the future. Are we moving into the right direction? Is our business and our company, is it moving into the right direction? Can we survive in the next 3 years, next 5 years, next 10 years? And how this sustainability related risks and opportunities going to impact us, right? So while the management has their own role and responsibility, looking at the direction of the company, the direction of the business, we as internal auditors, we need to play our role. What is our role? We need to first to make sure and understand what is actually happening within this ESG and sustainability world, right? What are the internal auditors and internal audit department in other countries that doing that will come to us very soon, sooner or later, right? So that is very much from the business perspective, right? To make sure that we are able to survive. Now, more importantly, from the investor's perspective, especially if you are listed companies and you have, investors that buying your stock, those are institutional investors, right? Those institutional investors, if you're looking at the trend now, they have registered themselves with certain organization. The most famous one is UNPRI, right? United Nations Principle for Responsible Investment. If you have any investors registered with this organization, you should be more careful simply because there's a high possibility they have registered and pledged to become net zero. So what is that means to your company, right? All these investors are looking at companies that have ESG plan in place, and especially whether you have any net zero plan or not before they decide whether to invest in your company or not to invest. And it's going to have a big impact because they are institutional investors. When they, whether they buy or they sell your shares, it's going to have a big impact on your share price moving forward. So it's very careful, and you need to be very concerned and very mindful. Who are your investors? Are those institutional investors one of your key investors? And if yes, you need to start the process now, right? Look into what else you need to do in order to meet their requirements. Net zero journey, that's the key word, right, for them. Next slide. So how this ESG going to impact you, your business, and your entity, and how you as an internal auditors can contribute? There have been some surveys done, right, and it's proven by you implementing ESG, it provides value to the organization. How is that going to impact us as internal auditors, right? So some case study has been done. If you look at the slides, right, the studies done to say that it's proven it can improve the profit margin, right, or also to lower the cost of capital. Right? There also study done that shown by implementing ESG and having proper process, policy, procedures, controls in place, it also able to help us to reduce our cost, right? Again, right? And also, if you look at how ESG increasing the sales, there have been many cases where because of ESG, there's a changes in the direction of the company, right? Especially if you are in a company that producing high carbon intensity sector, if you're in that sector, right? Especially if you're in coal, if you're in plantation, if you're in manufacturing, infrastructure, constructions, oil and gas, definitely, right? So what this ESG has done to them, they've basically changed their whole business model. They have actually changed the way they're doing business. They have moved, most of these companies, they have actually moved to renewable energy, and as we know, renewable energy is the future, right? Whether you are in solar power, whether you are in wind power, or even if you are moving into hydrogen energy and so on, this is the future. And this is where we as internal auditors, we have our duty to audit, to look at our strategic plan, where the company is moving, are we moving into the right direction? And that is the value we need to give to our entity as an internal auditor. Next slide. Right, so it's proven again and again, ESG is not a cost. Right? It's something that providing value to everyone, right? There are many instances where again and again it's proven by implementing ESG, it's actually improved the enterprise value. Similarly, when you as internal auditors, when you involve in doing internal audit for ESG, the recommendation that you're going to provide will be able to help the management to move forward in a more meaningful way, especially to provide value to the organization, and that is where you are coming in as internal auditor. Next slide. Now, the next question is, because we always talk about risk-based internal audit, right? How about risk-based ESG internal audit? So for you to do risk-based ESG internal audit, first of all, you need to know what is risk in sustainability, right? You need to understand, you need to learn, you need to have some idea before you can speak with your stakeholders with the process owner, with your management, with your CEO. Next slide. Let me share with you some of this example, right? We always talk about climate risk. So climate risk, first of all, we need to understand what is climate risk and how this is affecting our business, our company. Climate risk, we always about physical risk, right? You heard about flood, we blame to environment, right? Climate change. Now, when you have storm, we blame to climate change. Anything that's happening currently, we always blame to climate change, right? So this is where we as an internal auditor have to coming in. We need to have a proper plan. We need to check. We need to find out how this climate risk is going to impact our business. Now, the challenge we have now is that most of these climate risks that you are seeing now probably haven't really materialized yet. So we are talking about what may happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or 30 years from now. How climate risk is going to impact your business. There are some frameworks, some standards available for you to evaluate, and more importantly, you as an internal auditors, it provides you some guidance how you're going to audit all these climate risks in the future. Next slide. Right, it's proven again and again when you look at all the research that has been done. In next 3 years, in next 5 years, one of the major risks you're going to face is climate-related risks. So again, you have no choice. If we as internal auditors, if you need to stay relevant to your company, if you want to stay relevant to your profession, you have no options, but you have to learn about sustainability, ESG. And as of now, we are very much focusing on climate risk, but in the future, very soon, right? As we know, there are some standards are being developed now. The other big topics that coming very soon to all of us, to all of you, is biodiversity. It's coming very soon, right? And in addition to biodiversity, there's another standard that being produced that also going to impact all of us, especially you as internal auditors, is on human capital, especially on the human rights, right? Business and human rights. So we as internal auditors, there are 3 things that you need to remember for now. Climate change, you need to learn and understand that. Biodiversity, coming very soon, probably this year, right? And business and human rights. You need to have some ideas on these 3 topics so that you can bring this to your management, discuss with them, tell them how this is going to impact your company and your business, and what is your role in helping the companies to contribute to the companies and to provide more value. Next slide. This is again another survey done by World Economic Forum. It's very clear, 10 years from now, if you look at the top 4, top 5 risks, all related to climate change, right? We are talking about extreme weather event, biodiversity, climate change. Again, audit for tomorrow. So this is tomorrow. This is what's going to happen, right? Next. You need to know the regulatory risk, obviously, as internal auditors. You may have ESG reporting being done in your organization. The question you need to ask, are you ready to audit the ESG report that's being produced by your sustainability department or ESG department? In order for you to do that, we need to first understand how is the regulation looks like, right? So this is very important for you to know and understand how the whole regulatory risk is being managed by your organization. Next slide. Reporting. Please go back, look at your company's sustainability report, look at under which standard or framework it was done, and ask yourself, are you ready to audit them? What are the process, procedures, controls that you have in place? How do we know the numbers that being produced is actually reflecting the actual numbers? Right? So this is where we have to provide our value. Next. Right. Pass to Pak Brian.
Pak Ganesan, maybe I can just interrupt one question before I pass it on to Caca. So maybe looking at a landscape of thinking from a management perspective, yeah? So even, I mean, just for all of us here, even for me, at my organization, at our organization at Deloitte, I get sustainability report, right? In terms of the office, when we are at a client, and most of you are our distinguished clients, what type of sustainability initiatives that we take. in our office, we turn off the energy, the light at 6 p.m. and things like that. We also consume transportation, using public transportation, which is MRT and things like that. But how do you convince management, Pak? So, for example, how do all of us here, as internal audit professionals, how do we convince our CEOs? How do we convince our CFOs that this is actually a practice that needs to be done in our organization? Over to you, Pak.
I think the first thing you need to find out is what is your management buy-in when it comes to ESG and sustainability, right? How serious they are. That's the question you need to ask, right? And how serious they are is also depending on certain areas, right? For example, in what business you are in, right? If you are in high carbon intensity sector, you got to take it seriously, because your company and your business may not survive in next 3 or 5 years, right? That's the first thing you need to check. If you are in, coal mining, if you are in, oil and gas, if you don't get serious into looking into your ESG practice, 5-10 years from now, you're going to be in big problem. The company may not be even there, right? So, I mean, don't want to go to that extent, but you're going to have a serious problem doing business, right? And if you have plantation, right? As you know, we have many rules coming out, especially from Europe, EUDR, right? We have this deforestation, all kind of rules coming out. Again, if you're not ready, the company is not ready to implement all these rules, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you're going to have difficulties in doing business. So first of all, find out from your management, based on the business you are, how serious you are, right? If you are not, then we are actually looking at survival. We are not talking about growing anymore. We are talking about the survival of the organization, in 3-5 years from now, right? And if you are in survival stage, it's going to be very difficult for you to catch up, simply because other organizations have already moved forward, probably very far compared to you, right? If you look at some large companies, like take oil and gas, say for example Shell, right? They have already started moving into renewable energy last few years, right? If you look at some of the coal business, they're already moving into more integrated energy company rather than just focusing on the coal, right? If you look at plantation companies, they're already moving into, more, like for example, if you're RSPO member or even in Indonesian chapter, right? Everyone moving towards that. So first of all, find out the buy-in from the management. If they're not serious, we as an internal auditors, I think we have a duty to go and tell them, we have to do this, and this, failing which, the fact that our nature of business in this particular area, which is very high risk, right? 3-5 years from now, we are going to have problem even to survive. I mean, we're not even talking about growth. Survival is going to be an issue.
Thank you, Pak Ganesan. Now, maybe over to Ibu Caca, Bu. Di Indonesia, Bu, bagaimana Bu ini penerapan untuk ESG, particularly in relation to internal audit?
Ya, mungkin boleh next ke page berikutnya. Jadi sebetulnya kalau di Indonesia sendiri, saya yakin rekan-rekan kita udah tahu, Pak Brian, bahwa sudah ada standar yang baru keluar, gitu kan ya. Jadi ada SPK S1 dan S2. Nah, sebetulnya S1 ini dia terkait dengan sustainability, S2 itu lebih specific to the climate, gitu kan ya, terkait dengan disclosure sustainability dan climate. Nah, untuk pilarnya sendiri Pak Brian, pelaksanaan disclosure ini itu sebenarnya dibagi dari 4 pilar gitu ya. Jadi kalau kita lihat di kanan ada 4, governance, strategy, risk management, and metrics target. Nah, governance ini kita fokus kepada how an organization itu governs their risk and opportunities in sustainability. Nah, strategi itu lebih kepada how we integrate those opportunities and risk ke dalam strategi kita. Kemudian yang ketiga itu risk management, how do we manage the risk, kita mengassessnya seperti apa, kemudian kita menyiapkan mitigasinya seperti apa, monitornya seperti apa, and the last one is actually very important, it's on the performance, gitu. Jadi we have like governance, we have the strategy, we have the risk management, tapi how do we measure our fulfillment of the sustainability programs that we have, and how it impacts our performance as an organization, gitu. Jadi ini sebenarnya penting. Ini tertuang di dalam IFRS S1 dan S2 ini yang baru kita adopt di Indonesia dan mulai akan berlaku tuh di tahun 2027 terhadap tahun buku 2027 gitu Pak Brian. Nah tapi sebetulnya di belakang ini semua sebelum disclosure itu kita kan harus perhatikan juga prakteknya gitu. how our organization itu punya ESG program, how our organization itu punya implementasi terhadap program-program tersebut juga gitu ya. Jadi jangan menunggu cuma sampai reporting, tapi sebetulnya internal audit itu we need to be involved from the start. Makanya tadi juga Ganesan said we have to have the capability, we have to understand about sustainability. It's very important gitu, karena yang kita periksa itu sebetulnya bukan sekadar pelaporan, tapi the whole process gitu. Nah mungkin boleh ke next slide. Dari sudut pandang kita sendiri itu ya Pak Brian, pendekatan kita untuk melakukan audit terhadap sustainability di dalam suatu organisasi itu sebenarnya ada 3 approach. Jadi yang pertama itu kita menggunakan yang standalone review, kita tuh fokus cuma to the controls, to the policies, very granular, can be very granular atau justru very high level. Jadi fokusnya ke item-item pecahannya dari aktivitas sustainability program di organisasi kita. Yang kedua itu kita berfokus kepada area topiknya. Boleh tolong di zoom up? Jadi ESG itu kan sebetulnya ada 3 ya, environment, social, governance gitu ya. Climate is part of environment. Nah kita berfokus ke area yang di masing-masing ES atau G. Jadi misalnya kita perusahaan manufacturing Brian gitu ya, mungkin kita akan lebih butuh untuk understand our waste management compliance gitu. Nah kita bisa berfokus ke sana dulu untuk auditnya. So focus ini a very good approach untuk perusahaan-perusahaan yang mungkin punya specific concerns in ESG gitu. Nah terakhir ini udah kalau very mature kita bisa integrate our ESG audit itu ke dalam regular audit kita. Jadi nggak harus tunggu sampai kita ada tematik audit terkait dengan sustainability, but during every audit to every department to every activity we can also consider the ESG aspect. Gitu. Nah jadi ini mungkin beberapa topik-topik gitu yang bisa menjadi masukan untuk rekan-rekan nanti ketika melakukan penyusunan PKAT di tahun depan gitu kan ya, menyusun program audit ke depannya, kira-kira apa yang perlu dikonsider sesuai dengan industri dari masing-masing entity kita gitu sih.
Ini lebih ke execution-nya ya Caca ya, jadi karena di sini kan kalau saya kan outcome based ya, saya orangnya outcome based banget, jadi kalau untuk teman-teman internal audit profesional di sini itu bagaimana mereka bisa menyatukan ini di audit report, di integrated audit report, maybe ada sedikit masukan di situ?
Sebetulnya kalau mungkin untuk melakukan auditnya gitu ya, untuk make sure bahwa report kita bisa berjalan dengan baik gitu. Kalau dari kita sebetulnya itu sangat menyarankan untuk fokus ke area tertentu dulu gitu. Kenapa tadi misalnya terkait dengan climate, it requires a certain set of skills. Bagaimana melakukan climate modeling, bagaimana mengukur perubahan sekian derajat nanti itu akan berimpact seberapa besar terhadap aset kita, terhadap kemampuan produksi kita, itu adalah skill set yang sangat spesifik. Jadi building the capabilities sebelum kita melakukan the full audit itu sangat penting. So focused audit itu menurut saya itu sangat membantu gitu ya untuk kita understand dulu ke area-area yang kita anggap risknya lebih tinggi dan paling relevan terhadap industri sesuai dengan organisasi kita, terhadap aktivitas di organisasi.
Thank you. Ganesan, any more comments from you?
I think maybe my last comment is that maybe I can give you some tips, right? How you can go back to your organization, how you can plan to do internal audit for ESG, right? Some steps that you need to go through, right? I have one slide here just to share with you. There are 10 steps you can look at it, right? Before you start to do your ESG internal audit, right? I can go through one by one. It's going to take a whole day, right? So that's not the plan today, right? So it's very important for you as internal auditors, start to include ESG in your internal audit plan, right? If you have not included yet, you need to start look into that, right? And more importantly, as much as you want to check whether your organization is ready for you to do the internal audit in ESG, you need to first check whether you are ready or not, right? Whether you and your department, your internal auditors, whether are they equipped with the right knowledge, relevant knowledge for them to conduct the internal audit in ESG, right? And what else need to be done, right? So I have 10 simple steps here to guide you how you can go back and think about how you're going to do internal audit. Because I'm after this session, I'm still outside there at the Deloitte booth. If you like to have more clarification how you can start to do the internal audit in your organization, especially capacity building exercise, please, feel free to come and see me. I'm happy to share with you. Thank you.
Ganesan. Thank you, Bu Caca. Thank you, Ganesan. I believe our time, we have a limited time left. But Bapak dan Ibu, I'd like to say thank you very much for your attention. For us at Deloitte, I think we do have a lot of expertise around this area, and we are more than happy to share with you our experiences in this area. I think from a professional perspective, and I mentioned this in the beginning, I'm proud to have started my career as an internal auditor. No matter where I am in terms of my position, I will always support the internal audit profession. It is our commitment to the profession that we will always continue to share and share our knowledge. And last year I mentioned, Pak Abi last night mentioned to me that I mentioned for all of us here in the conference, we need to align, we need to integrate, and we need to connect. If you look at our logo at the back, it says, "Together we make progress." And for me, my closing statement is, as an internal audit professional, together we will make progress with IIA and with all of you here as internal audit professionals. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the three of you. And we would like to express our gratitude and kindly ask you to remain on the stage as we would like to present a special appreciation for three of you. So, untuk itu kami mohonkan kesediaan dari Treasurer II Indonesia, Ibu Dewi Andrianti, untuk dapat naik ke atas panggung, Ibu, untuk menyerahkan cenderamata kepada para pembicara kita dari Deloitte kali ini. The first to Mr. Ganesan Kolan Velu. Selanjutnya kepada Ibu Cahaya Cita Putri. Dan terakhir kepada Bapak Indra, maksud kami Bapak Prian Indradjadja. Baik, dilanjutkan dengan sesi foto bersama kepada rekan-rekan media untuk dapat bersiap-siap. Foto akan kami padu dengan hitungan 3, 2, 1. Sekali lagi, 3, 2, 1. Baik, terima kasih dan kami persilakan untuk dapat kembali ke tempat. Baik Bapak Ibu hadirin, kita akan masuki sesi yang istimewa, yakni apresiasi khusus untuk para pemegang sertifikasi IIA, di mana diantaranya adalah Indonesia Internal Audit Practitioner, IIAP, Certified Internal Auditor, CIA, dan yang terakhir ada Certification in Risk Management Assurance, CRMA, pada periode Januari 2024 sampai dengan Mei 2025. IIA Indonesia memberikan penghargaan khusus kepada para profesional yang telah menempuh perjalanan penuh dedikasi hingga berhasil meraih sertifikasi ini. Bapak Ibu hadirin, di tengah dunia yang terus berubah, kompetensi adalah kunci agar profesi audit internal tetap berjalan relevan dan sertifikasi ini menjadi bukti nyata atas komitmen tersebut. Bapak Ibu perlu